Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show. I got another amazing guest right here on the platform. But, before I get started, I got to go through the bio. So he is the founder of Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, an online community and coaching program showing new wholesalers how to make $20,000 in 90 days, even if they've got no team, no experience, and if they're working a full-time job. He believes the best deals are not in your backyard and that your next deal is just a phone call away. With over 10 years in the business and 600 deals under his belt, he is passionate about showing others how to break free from the rat race and create the financial freedom they truly desire. Ladies and gentlemen, I got Chris Logan here. Chris, thank you again for your time. If you're not already following on Facebook, just following for the motivational quotes, ladies and gentlemen. But Chris, thank you again for being on the platform. How are you doing today, man?
Daniel, I'm doing awesome, even better now that I'm talking to you and sharing some knowledge with your audience. I really appreciate having me on, and I look forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off with the background on the story, and ladies and gentlemen, I was already privy to such information before we got on the call, but I definitely want him to share with the world. So yeah, Chris, if you can talk about, your first glimpse into virtual wholesaling and what got you into it.
Sure. So, for me, when I was just getting started in real estate, I wanted to get started in real estate for a lot of the reasons that many of you listening here want to get started, right? You hear it's the number one way to create wealth. And it's the number one way that the majority of millionaires have gained their wealth, create financial freedom, live life on your own terms, do what you want, all that, right? And so my first experience with this was when I was in college and I was sitting on my dorm room couch and I was staying up late at night and I was watching this infomercial and I saw Dean Graziosi come on the TV talk about you can achieve financial freedom in real estate today. Shared his book and I called into his hotline, got it. And I actually didn't get into real estate till many years later, till eventually I also got started on Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book, which was a great book. A lot of people have heard about it. And that's what really got me on my journey to real estate. I found out he was coming to Tampa through where I live for this real estate event. It was like a 2 or 3 day event. And they were talking about all the different ways you get started in real estate. And the number one way that stood out to me was wholesaling. So they basically drew a lot of different strategies on the board. And the one that stuck out to me was wholesaling because they said you could basically take a piece of paper and you could flip that piece of paper for tens of thousands of dollars. Didn't need loads of money in the bank. Didn't need a rich uncle. You didn't need, to have good credit or anything like that. No loans from banks, but you could make money from real estate without any money of your own pocket. So at that point, I was hooked, right? And so my wife and I, we got started in it. And we just hit the ground running. And I love to say that we got our first deal right away, but really it took about 6 months for us to do our first deal. Fast forward into the future, about 2 years before COVID, we were blessed to say, you know what, driving around all these properties is taking a lot of time, right? And so what we want to do, what if we could do this entire business over the phone? What if we could just call sellers, we could make offers, have them accept them over the phone, and we could do this from anywhere in the world, right? And so we put our plan in motion and we switched over to virtual 2 years before COVID. So by the time COVID came around and everyone was locked down in their houses and a lot of real estate investors were scrambling what to do, we were thriving, had one of our best years ever. And that's how we went to the virtual model and scaled our business to doing over 600 deals and then over 7 figures and haven't looked back since.
I just want to clap right now for you. Yes, Chris. Like I said, it's an honor having you on the show. Now, I want to back it up a little bit as far as
Sure.
Talked about 2 years before COVID, which I'm thinking 2017, 2018. When did you actually, start the process? That first 6 months, what year was that getting into virtual wholesaling?
Shoot. So that was, we started 10 years ago. So okay. I want to say that was 2012, 2014, somewhere around there. Okay. That's where we actually got started. And I was working a job at the same time. And I just realized that, I wanted more. I didn't want someone to tell me when I could come in, when I could go home, when I could go to the bathroom, all that stuff, right? I wanted to take control of my own future and live life on my terms.
I love that. And I want to get into, because you talk a lot about mindset and motivation, on your Facebook post, that mindset that you have. Can you deep dive further into that? You're 6 months into it, you're getting all the training, focusing on the deals. What was that mind shift for you making that transition from the full-time job to, becoming your own boss?
Yeah, sure. So around the time I got started in real estate, one of the things I was seeing a lot, and you're still seeing it today, is working for a company is just not the safest path that everybody thinks it is, right? You could wake up one morning, your boss could give you a call and say, hey, I appreciate all your years of service, but we've downsized and your position's no longer needed, right? And at that point, because you haven't looked into any other types of income that you could make outside of that, so you could take control of your own life, you're left scrambling. You're worried, you're stressed. How am I going to pay the bills? Am I going to be able to keep living where I'm at? And all these thoughts come across your mind. So I didn't want to deal with any of that stuff, right? So I said, you know what? The safest path is for me to carve my own path, right? I believe shoot, I don't want to say the wrong name. Jim Rohn, there you go. Jim Rohn said that you want to create a second income and build that income while you're working at a job until you get that income to the same level of what you're making. Then you scale back in the hours of your job and then put more time in the business and grow past the income you're making at your job. And at that point, you can create financial freedom. So that's what I did.
I love that. I love that. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not saying to immediately quit your job. I always think that is the worst advice to give to somebody. But finding that balance and start with 5 minutes a day. In your opinion, Chris, how much time is put into virtual wholesaling on a part-time basis while somebody is working full-time?
Yeah, I would say if you could put in 2 to 3 hours a day minimum to start, that will more than set you on the path to getting your first deal. And that's what I typically recommend for people getting started.
Okay. I love that. Love that. And well, you talked about Dean Graziosi. We talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Before I ask about book recommendations, where can folks actually find you at on social media?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me on Facebook, that's the platform that I'm on the most. You can follow me at Chris Logan REI. So ChrisLogan REI, like real estate investor.
Okay. And then book recommendations. We already talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Dean Graziosi, I know he's got a few books out there. Any other books as far as for those newbies looking into virtual wholesaling that you can recommend?
So there are 2 books that I recommend for you to start with when you're first getting started in real estate or starting your path to entrepreneurship, right? The first book is called The One Thing, and it's by Gary Keller. I think I have it on my shelf here. Yep, right here. The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Awesome.
Right? And the reason I love this book is because this book gets you to focus, and it forces you to focus on the number one thing that you can do that day to move the needle forward in on the path to your goals, right? See, a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, when I first started, I was very unfocused. Like I had massive shiny object syndrome. I was chasing every opportunity, every email that said you could make 10K in a month, blah, 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 right? I was chasing all those opportunities and going nowhere. So what I've learned is that, you only have 100% of focus, right? So if you split that 100% over 4 different opportunities, you're only giving each opportunity 25%. And the issue with that is 25% focus is not, or energy is not nearly enough energy you need to be able to get the traction to get the ball moving forward and do your first deal or make money in a business, right? You have to give one thing your 100%, no less. And that is the way that you can have success. A lot of people try to get into real estate and like, oh, I tried, it wasn't successful. My question to them is, how many other opportunities were you trying at the same time? So that's the big thing. So that's the first book that I recommend. And the second book, I have it on my shelf. It's on my other one. This is called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And I love this book because once you get your focus down with the one thing, the next step is focusing on becoming more consistent, right? That's another big issue that people have. A lot of people think they can just dial for one day and they're like, I didn't get any leads or I didn't get any deals. What the heck? Or I didn't make money in my business, and they worked 1 month and they quit and they move on to the next shiny object thing. But the problem is it's because they weren't consistent. When you were a little baby and you're learning to walk, right? You didn't like try to walk one time, trip and be like, forget this walking stuff, I'm done, right? No, like you'd be sitting today, right? But what you did is you kept going and going and going until you got your result. And that book talks about why most people approach consistency completely wrong. And because you have the opposite side of people sometimes. Some people say, I'm going to put 10 hours a day into it every day, grind like I see on YouTube, and I'm going to work, 15 hours a day. That's not sustainable, right? I don't care what the guru on YouTube says. It's not sustainable. So what you have to do is you have to start with a little bit each day, get consistent so you can do it every day, some type of realistic amount of time, and then you can build on that. Maybe that's 30 minutes for you, right? Maybe it's 45 minutes, maybe it's an hour. And then you slowly build on that week over week over week till you get to the point and the amount of time that you want to put in your business. But focus and consistency, two complete keys to success in starting a new business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for that. Now, I want to add to that as far as with the consistency and focus, the daily activity, our activities, I should say, that come along with it. What would you recommend, especially somebody who's even brand new, or maybe they have that one deal under them, they're just unsure as far as how to get to that second one. What
Sure.
daily activities would you recommend?
Yeah. So one of the things I recommend is taking a look at your day and seeing like what you can fit in where. So for me, my one of my top methods that I follow to do deals in wholesaling is the FYBF method. That means find your buyer first. See, a lot of wholesalers, they approach, the business totally wrong. They've been told if you find a good deal, it'll sell itself. Most of the time when people are getting started, they don't know what a good deal is. So how can it sell itself, right? So what they want to do is they want to understand it's a marketing business. Find a buyer first, right? Find out what that buyer wants, where they're buying, and then go start marketing and get them what they want. And when you bring them that, it becomes much easier to do deals. So what I would always start my day off with is finding buyers first. So I would network with cash buyers and local Facebook groups. So if I was brand new today, what I would do is I would join all the local Facebook groups in the area that I'm going to start in, right? And then from there, I'd build relationships with cash buyers, other wholesalers too. They're not your competition, contrary to what a lot of people say. And I'd also build relationships with the realtors, because all three of those people can either buy your deals or they can bring buyers for your deals. And I would do that roughly for about an hour in the morning, right? And then for me, when I was in corporate America around lunchtime, what I would do is I would cold call for sellers, right? And then I would also follow up on leads and offers and things like that. And then in the evening time, roughly, after I get home from work and I hit the gym and worked out because that was important to me, right? From there, I would then cold call again and get on the phone with sellers and sell deals. And that was my schedule. And I ran that schedule consistently week over week over week until I was able to break free from corporate America and, run the business full time. And I love what you said, by the way, how you said before about you shouldn't quit your job and I actually think a job is a good thing, because a job can give you stability and it can give you peace of mind while you're building your thing. You don't need that extra financial stress while you're building a thing by forcing that business to make income sooner than it can, right? It takes 9 months to have a baby and you can't rush that process.
No, not at all. And you don't, because the complications that come along with it,
Yeah.
So doing so, I hope people understand that you just gave the blueprint for the golden schedule, and setting the time for it. When people come to you, because I know that you've run into hundreds, most likely thousands of folks who do give you those excuses. Chris, you don't understand. My family's going through this. You don't understand my background. I haven't done this before. I'm not that well educated. Or even more so, they just say, I just don't have time. What do you say to those individuals? Like, I just don't have the time. I can't do the hour in the morning. I can't do the hour during lunchtime. I barely have time to even go to the gym to myself. What do you say, or what's your typical rebuttal to those type of statements?
So I have one thing that I say to people like that have those thoughts, because let's be honest, we all have these thoughts when we're first getting into entrepreneurship, first getting started. But after you've done this for a long time, you look back on how I don't want to say how silly it is to have those thoughts, but really how it is to have those types of thoughts and how they hold you back. So what I encourage people to do, right? The worst thing that you can do to yourself is, number one, put a label on yourself. I'm not this, I'm not that, right? So don't put labels on yourself, because that has a serious effect on your mind that can really hold you back subconsciously. And the second thing that I say is, don't stop saying I can't and start saying, how can I? Shift from I can't do this, I don't have enough time, to how can I come up with the time? Because when you say I can't, your brain literally shuts down. It says, okay, my job's done. There's no solutions that need to be brought here. We're good. We can't do it, right? But if you ask your brain, like, how can I? How could I do this? How could I create the time, right? Your brain then goes into solution mode and starts generating possible ideas and solutions to help you get your goals, right? I can't tell you how much of an impact this can have on you just getting started, or even after you've been doing business for a long time, because we all, like there's a saying, another level, another devil, we all run into false limiting beliefs. And what we have to do is break down those barriers and stop saying how I can't and start asking, how can I, and watch the solutions come about.
No, I love that because I have friends who, nothing against them, but I know making way less than me, but they're always on trips. So they're always finding solutions as far as like, hey, there's either a split payment plan for them to work, or even just the basic necessity, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to eating, it's not, oh, I can't have breakfast today, or I can't eat lunch today, I can't have dinner. You're finding ways, you're finding that ramen noodle packet, or you're realizing that it's like, oh wait, aren't they doing free pizza down in the lunchroom today, or aren't they giving away samples at Sam's Club? So I love how that mind shift, and already another gem, ladies and gentlemen, starting from that I can't to how can I. So thank you so much for that. The cold calling, and I'll be honest, I hate cold calling.
Most people do.
Being a realtor, is, and even in, my own profession of, doing the staffing recruiting for 15 plus years, still hate picking up the phone, because always in the back of my mind, negatively, I'm thinking about, this person's going to cuss me out, or this person, is going to yell at me, or maybe even just make a bad name for me, getting on the phone. What's your advice? And I'm using myself here as well. What's your advice to those who say, how to overcome that cold calling?
Yeah. So your first call is always going to be the hardest to make. So I recommend getting in there and making that as quickly as possible. The longer that you sit in front of the phone and you think about all these negative thoughts, or you allow your mind to have time to think about all these thoughts, they start compounding to be this big, crazy beast to where you're like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? The harder of a time that is for you to get started. So what I recommend doing is, if you set your time to cold call, right? So if you say 2 o'clock, I'm going to cold call, you need to sit down and have a launch sequence. Go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you pick up the phone, or you click on your headset, whatever you do, but get that first call out of the way. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake on that call, right? You're never going to run into these people at the grocery store. They're not going to be sitting there picking out tomatoes and you're like, hey, you're the person I cold called and messed up. It's not going to happen, right? So you can throw that excuse right out the window, right? Because you're never going to meet these people again. And if you mess up, who cares? And the other part of that too is the people you're going to talk to, just from reading a real estate book, just from taking a course, hiring a mentor, 98%, having a real estate license, 98% more than the people that own homes, even if you're renting. It does not matter, right? Because those people, a big misconception people have is because someone owns a home, they know all about real estate, right? They don't. They know nothing about real estate. Just by attending a 3-day seminar on the weekend, you know more than they do. So even if you mess up, they're not even going to know. So the feeling that you have of, oh, what if they find out that I'm new? Or what if they find out that, I made a mistake? They will not even know. So just keep it rolling, move on to the next call. If someone says something negative to you, you got to protect your mindset, let it roll off your back like water for duck's back. It's nothing personal, right? So whenever someone is rude to me or negative, I just understand, one, it's an unsolicited call, right? They didn't ask me to call them, so par for the course, it's going to happen. And then the second thing, I actually feel bad for them for 2 reasons. The first reason I feel bad for them is because it's a blessing to talk with me, because I'm all about creating solutions, right? And if they can't see that, that's really on them and it's not on me, okay? The second thing I think about is, what is that poor person going through in their own life where they have to be so mean and nasty to someone to a total stranger over the phone, right? Did they just get a divorce? Did they, just lose a family member? Did they get fired from their job? I start thinking about things like that, and it switches that feeling of being rude, where you want to say something back, to, man, I'm really sorry that you're going through that, right? So I just keep a smile on my face. I stay positive, and If they say, don't ever call me again, hey, no problem. I don't want to call that person again because then they're going to act the same way, right? So it really is no sweat off your back. Just move on to the next call.
Oh man, Chris, that was just even uplifting for me. So thank you just so much for that. We talked about, virtual wholesaling, made simple briefly, as far as your company. Can you deep dive further into your program a little bit? Tell
Sure.
folks, what it's about, or even, them coming to your site, what they can expect.
Yeah, sure. So one of the main things that I love doing is I love working with people who are brand new to real estate, or maybe people that, have taken some courses in the past, they struggled to do deals, haven't been able to do them, and really breaking past those limiting beliefs so they can start doing deals right away, right? Even people that are seasoned and maybe they just hit a glass ceiling in their business and they have been able to break through, I love helping break through that too. So mainly, what I find is that people, when they come to me, they're struggling to do deals for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they even struggle because their local area is sabotaging their success. They may think that, it's them. They're just not very good at following a process. Maybe they learned from another coach, and that coach said, yeah, you're just not putting in enough time or effort, and they were. Maybe their local territory is sabotaging their success. So what we do when people come to me, number one, is I look at if there's any limiting beliefs that are holding them back, and I want to break through those as quickly as possible, right? Because, real estate success is 80 to 90% mindset and 10 to 20% education. So I want to get those out of the way as quickly as possible. Obviously, provide the roadmap where they can do deals consistently from home anywhere in the country, and grow to doing 20K a month or more, right? But I really want to break through those limiting beliefs. So we do that first. Then from there, what we do is we go ahead and pick a territory. We show them how to identify the hottest cash buyer territories across the country. And it's not the way that most people think. And what we do is we actually identify territory right there. And then from there, we set them on a path of focus, showing them exactly what to do to get a deal. Day one, do this. Day two, do this. We leave no stone unturned and put them on a path where they can have a realistic shot of having the success and hitting the goals they have for themselves. So it's all about them. It's all about breaking through those limiting beliefs, giving the roadmap to do deals consistently. And from there, helping them overcome obstacles along the way so they can live the life that they desire.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that. And we talked about territory a little bit. If somebody, let's say, is in that flooded market, every other neighbor happens to be a realtor, every other neighbor happens to be a buyer or seller, and there's just no stone unturned. How can folks, typically find the hottest real estate markets, or what can they be doing on their end? Let's say, even if they are maybe even out in rural America, knowing everybody since kindergarten, and families have pretty much been around, and they're best friends with the count. I'm just kidding. But for those types of areas, what advice can you give to those trying to find those hot real estate markets?
So I have a two-step system to finding the hottest territories across the country, right? So we deep dive more into this with my coaching clients, right? But I'm going to give you the two steps you can take from this interview right now, and you can find the hottest territories across the country. Is that cool?
I love it. Bring it on, man.
All right. But bring the heat here. So the first step, okay, and the cool thing is you can do this with free tools, okay? You don't need any crazy fancy $500 a month, $1,000 a month tools to be able to figure this out, okay? All you need is Google. That's it, right? So what you want to do is you want to go to Google and you want to type in the area that you're considering starting in. And most people I find when they come to me, they're like, I'm thinking about this area, or I want to see if my territory is good, or, my family lives here and I'm really just looking to see if that's a good territory. That's how a lot of people pick territories, right? So what they'll do is they'll bring that to call. So they want to go to Google, and they want to type in the county that the city they're looking to target in. Okay. You always want to search by the county. And you want to type in the county and then type in population. And what you're looking for there is you're looking for a county that has a minimum of 250,000 people there, right? What I've found is if you look in the territories that have less than 250,000 people, it's going to be more of a rural territory, and it's going to be easy to get deals under contract, but very, very difficult to sell those deals. So we want to stay away from those, and we like to focus on the major metropolitan areas, okay? So that's checkbox number one. So if they have 250,000 people in that county, that's checkbox number one. The second step that you want to do is you want to go to Google again, and you want to type in that county and type in the median home price. Okay. Now, for those listening who are not in real estate or brand new, don't know what median home price is, it's very simple. If you picture a timeline in your mind, and the far left of that timeline is the really cheap houses, like $50,000 or less. and the far right is the multi-million-dollar houses, like the luxury homes. The median home price is going to be the price that's in the middle, right? So this is the most common type of home that's being sold in the house that most anybody can afford, right? So what we're looking for is we're looking for a minimum there of $200,000, okay? And I like to really cap it at like $450,000. And so if you have those two parts, right? Those two steps, those two check boxes where a minimum of 250,000 people and then a minimum of $200,000 median home price, that is the magic combination to be able to get enough deals and to be able to have no problem whatsoever selling deals, because there's always new people moving in the area and there's a high demand for opportunity.
Wow, Chris, thank you so much for just dropping gem after gem after gem today. As we're wrapping up here, contact information one more time. Can you give out as far as where folks can find you at on social media?
Sure. Yeah. So you can follow me on Facebook, Chris Logan, REI, CHRISLOGAN, REI, like real estate investor. Okay. And then if you'd like to learn more about my coaching program, you can go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com and fill out the form. I don't take on everybody, but if you'd like to get the results that we're getting, my clients are getting, make sure you're detailed in your responses. And if I like what you have to say, I'll consider bringing you on. And by the way, I love knowing where you came from. So make sure you came from Daniel Umstead's podcast.
Great. Awesome. Appreciate that, Chris. And then a couple more questions before we wrap up here. Back to the mindset, because I bring entrepreneurs and business owners on here to selfishly, even for myself, get this advice for the dark days, the days it's raining outside, the kid is screaming in the background, you're trying to make cold calls and nothing seems to work. You pretty much got cussed out on every single call. Your boss is bringing you into back-to-back meetings. You're not sure what even you're planning on doing for dinner. For those dark days, how do you overcome those? How does someone, overcome those moments in their lives where they're just like, they're ready to give up? What advice do you have?
Well, first of all, understand that you're not alone, right? That's a really, really big thing, because a lot of entrepreneurs, especially men, they feel like the journey of entrepreneurship can be lonely, number one, right? Because like you may not have friends or family that believe that your path is the right path. They may think you're crazy, right? So you're going at it alone in most cases. And sometimes you may not have a supportive spouse or the support of your friends, right? And so number one, just understand that being an entrepreneur can be a lonely business, right? So you want to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, right? You want to make sure you're surrounding yourself with other uplifting people, okay? So there's three types of people. There's really two types of people you want to surround yourself with, and the third person I would recommend avoiding like the plague, right? So momentum breaker. So this is the type of person who you look up to, right? They're living a life like that you want to live, and you learn a lot from them. They could be your mentor too, right? So momentum breakers, you want to spend a lot of your time with them. The second type of person you want to spend time with is someone called a momentum maker, right? A momentum maker is someone that looks up to you, right? That says, man, you're at a point in your life that I really look up to, and it's your job as an entrepreneur, or if you're more successful than they are financially or whatever area they're looking to learn from you, to give them a help them hand and pull them up and motivate them. Because believe it or not, on your darkest days, when you have people that, that you can help, and you put your mind in the mindset of like, not what's in it for me, but like, how can I help this person, lift them up? It actually lifts up your spirits as well, right? And then the third category of people that you want to avoid like the plague is momentum takers. These are the people that you're around, and you feel like they just suck the life out of you, right? Like you feel really drained and just emotionally done after you talk to them. And you really want to make sure you minimize your time with these people, because believe it or not, that has more of an effect on your mindset than I can tell you. And then also taking in what you take in the morning, right? Just 3 minutes of negative news in the morning can set you off to a bad day. So those are some things that I recommend to help you through that. And I actually have 2 more tips, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, Chris. This is why I brought you.
Awesome. All right. So the other thing I can tell you is that just like if you are wanting to get in shape and you're looking to go to the gym, right? A lot of that same mindset applies to business. So there's going to be days where you don't feel like it, but those are the days that are the most critical and the most important for you to actually do the work, because those are the days that it's easier to give up. And if you can strengthen that muscle to not give up on those days and stay focused and do what you have to do, even though you don't feel like it, it's going to make that muscle stronger and stronger. And it's going to make it easier and easier. Just like you go to the gym, the first time you go in there, you're really struggling, lift the weight, but you're consistent. You're doing it time after time again. The weight gets easier and so on, right? So that's really important. Getting enough sleep is super, super critical, right? I can't tell you how important that was. When I first got started, I would burn the candle at both ends. I'd wake up early in the morning and stay up till 2 a.m, right? And it just wasn't good. And I was shooting myself up with caffeine and all this stuff, all these coffee and energy drinks. And it's not good for you. And you can't run that for too long. And then the last thing that I'll say is, don't be afraid to take a walk, right? So if you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed, it's okay to take a break. Just don't quit, right? So take a walk, right? And think about all the things that you're grateful for. Sometimes we get into this spiral of negativity. We're thinking about all these things that we don't have. So-and-so's further along than we are in life. This person makes it look so easy. Why can't I do this? Or this person did more listings this month than I did. And I'm more talented than they are. What the heck? What are they doing? And it's easy to beat yourself up. But what you want to do is be grateful and thankful. Like, God, I'm thankful for, putting a roof over my head. I'm thankful for the love of my friends and family. I'm thankful that I got an opportunity to wake up today with air in my lungs, right? And to be able to walk. You know how many people can't walk? So there's so many things that we can be grateful and thankful for when we can take the money aspect out of the side and we can just focus on what we do have. And when you focus on that, it creates this abundant mindset, right? Where now you're attracting opportunity because you're not thinking about what you don't have. You're focusing and your cup is full and you're thankful for what you do have.
Awesome and incredible. And I wanted to actually add on to what you said, Chris, because I'm already thinking of, people's comments or people's negative feedback. It's like, well, it's raining outside or, my baby's sleeping right now. I can't just leave them here. Walk in place, ladies and gentlemen. And I did a video way back as far as 5 quick tips for realtors to do, when they're sick, because if you are full-time, being a realtor, there really are no sick days. And one of them I had suggested outside of the rest, but the other thing was put something on in the background, podcast-wise. You made a very clear point. I can't tell you how many folks that I know that will start their day with the news, or they're listening to what radio station's saying. Either, there's a killing going on, or something that happened in a local community. And it's so quick, to immediately change that by starting with something positive, starting with your own affirmations in the morning, just to get your day started. So thank you so much for that, Chris. My final question to you, anything parting that you would like to leave for the audience today that you'd like to share?
Yeah. So I would say if you're looking to get started in real estate, or you're looking to get started with a new business, whatever that is, right? The first best time to get started was yesterday. The next best time is today. So take a step. Don't put off your dreams any longer. You don't have to be like that person that says, one day I'll do this, one day I'll do that. Because guess what? 10 years is going to go by. You're going to look back what happened and be like, why didn't I just do it? Right? Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. So take action today and take a step. That's the only thing you have control over. You can't control if someone says yes, if the seller accepts your offer, if they sign a listing contract. You can't control any of that stuff. All you can control is if you do the steps every single day.
Awesome again, Chris. Thank you again so much for coming on the podcast. Really greatly appreciate having you here today, man.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Definitely.
Thank you for tuning in to the RNG Radio Show. Be sure to like and subscribe for more episodes and future content. If you'd like to learn more, visit us at danielumstead.com. Stay blessed, my fellow millionaires.